Okay, this video is a brief discussion covering your Program 11 programming assignment, which is related to calculating grades. So what I'm going to have you do in this programming assignment is to ask the user for the grading criteria. And what I mean by grading criteria is, you have 2 exams during the semester. They're each worth 10% of your grade. You have a final at the end of the semester, it's worth 20%, etc. Once you have the grading criteria, you're going to go back, and for each of those criteria, you're going to ask for the score that was made, like for a midterm exam, or the average of a set of assignments, for example, homework assignments. And then what you're going to do is you're going to calculate the student's current grade without the final. And you're going to tell them what that is. Basically, you're going to say, okay, this is what you have in the class so far. If you don't take the final, you're going to get a D. And then you're going to go back and say, okay, to get a C, you need to make this grade on your final. To get a B, you need to make this grade on the final. Based on the information given, it's not possible for you to get an A. That type of thing. So a couple of examples to make sure you understand this. Here I have what I called test case 1. I run the program. I tell them that there were 2 tests during the semester, and this might be a little bit unusual. Typically the tests have equal weights, but to test your program, I said the test 1 is 5% of your grade, and test 2 is 15% of your grade. The finals were 20% of your grade, your homework is 20%, and your programs are 40%. So that's prompting for and getting the grading criteria. Then you're going to turn around and ask for scores. What score did the user get on test 1? They got an 80. What score did they get on test 2? They made a 90. What's their homework average? It's a 99. What's their average on programming assignments? It's an 88. So it then takes that information and calculates the following. So without the final, they currently have a 72.5 in the class, which means if they blew the final off, they would get a C. To get a B, you need to score a 37 on the final, and to get an A, you need to score an 87 on the final. So it kind of tells the student how they need to do on the final to get the various letter grades. Test case 2, there were 2 exams given. They were each worth 10% of the grade. The finals were 20%. The homework is worth 20%, and programs are worth 40. And then you prompt the user, and they said, okay, they got a 60 on test 1, they got a 62 on test 2, they got a 64 for their homework average, and their program average was a 66. So you go through and perform that calculation, and their current grade is a 51.4. So if they don't take the final, they're going to get an E in the class. To get a D in the class, they would need to score a 43 on the final. To get a C in the class, they would need to score a 93 on the final. And under these circumstances, without a curve, it is not possible for this student to receive either an A or a B in the class. So there's a couple of test cases so you understand the flow of the program and what the program is doing. So now for some miscellaneous information. You should take the averages that the user gives you and make sure that it totals 100%. If it does not, you should tell the user that it does not total 100 and ask if they want to continue or not with the current information given. If for one of those categories, for example, homework, if you said there was 0% weight for homework, that means there were no homeworks given, or homeworks do not factor into their grade. So your program should not turn around and say, hey, what was the average on homeworks? It should know that it has no weight and to simply skip that. Your program should not output what I'm calling impossible situations. For example, it should not say this student needs 120 on the final to get a B. And your program code and output should be nicely formatted and nicely spaced out, like I have shown here. To turn in, you should turn in, as always, a single PDF document. The first thing you should have is your code for program 11, and then you should have an execution of your program with input that exactly matches my test case 1 to verify that you get the same answers I do and that your program's working correctly. Likewise, you should do the same thing, executing your program again and giving exactly the same data I gave for test case 2. Your third execution should be an execution related to the grading criteria for this class, CIT 144, and then using your test scores and homework scores and program averages to go through. So basically run the program for you for CIT 144. And then after that, you will have any other test cases that you think you need to thoroughly test your program and make sure it works correctly.